And one of the challenges they talked about that in the process of replicating the culture in the GDC as the same what they have in the parent organization, they also bring in as a byproduct all the inefficiencies of the parent organization to the GDC itself. And they were wondering whether having an at arm's length kind of an operation for a GDC is better than a completely integrated, wherein the enterprise style, particularly in the large banks and financial services, the same style get reflected and then GDC model becomes more inefficient. What do you think about that observation?
It's a great insight, Amal. It's a great insight, and it is indeed. It's a balance. It's a very fine balance. It's again one of those duality things. It's one of those paradoxes that you do need the alignment of culture between the global enterprise and the GDC, because that is what builds a trust. Yeah, that is what builds the alignment. That is what is critical for really breaking the barriers and kind of the entire not the work will flow, but really working as one team. A common culture is very essential. Yeah. So if you don't establish that, it's very difficult to get going. But then the challenge is that you also bring in all the biases and kind of issues that you had in the global enterprise. Now, one of the reasons you want to do this global delivery is velocity. Yeah. And if you end up replicating exactly the way things were and that same culture, you're not going to have velocity. Yeah. And I see Ashish Mathur here. Just even with many of our clients, some of our more aware and thoughtful clients, I think they were very clear with us. They were very clear with us, and their expectations were very clear. And I think they chose us because they wanted speed. They wanted speed. Yeah. And they wanted to build something which will actually become the best practice. Yeah. And that is also what I shared with you yesterday, that my own experience at especially at McKinsey, that the culture and the talent model that we built in the GDC, we exported it globally. That became the norm. Yeah. Now that requires a very high level of vision and kind of thought process. Yeah. That you kind of know that you have to do both, that you need to have an alignment, but you build in a leadership in the GDC. See, typically the best way of doing it is that you kind of have some continuity, that you have some people who understand the core company culture who kind of come in, yeah, and who kind of bring that continuity and alignment. But then you have bring in strong enough leaders, who will build the right culture and who will bring that youth, bring that new agile way of working, bring that new technologies, which can be like the best practice. Yeah. Now, it is fundamentally driven on the type of leaders you bring, because most times you might end up bringing, if your expectations are not clear, you may end up bringing leaders who are very compliant, who will manage the show. Yeah. So that seeding the right type of leaders is very fundamental. You kind of build something, and then you have the vision and courage to recognize that the mothership is not perfect. You're actually trying to improve it. But it is not common. It is not common. Because most times what happens is that the easier process is that what is happening in the mothership, you replicate. Exactly. Yeah. So it is, if we go back to that maturity curve, okay, I'll share my screen again because you raise a very important point, which if we go to this maturity curve, till this point, 1 and 2, yeah, 1 and 2, the deep integration is a very good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you're getting to 3 and 4, it can be a problem.
Right.
It can be a problem. Yeah. And that's the thoughtfulness, and that's the vision and awareness that is needed. Because if you don't seed for this at the beginning, is very difficult to just wake up to it.
Yep.
You have to build for it over a number of years.